And we have two things that we called you for. The first is the arrest of one of our senior officers in the organization. So 10:30 p.m. yesterday, I was seeing off international visitors who had been with us over the weekend and was notified that one of our officers had been picked up. And I quickly went through all the security agencies, police, DIS, SFC. I hope you know those acronyms. And I wasn't able to find where he was, so I drove to Entebbe. I met the president, and the president told me that he was not aware, given no order, of the arrest of this officer, and that he was going to try and find out what the story is and the circumstances of his arrest. What was important is that he did not order this and he wasn't aware. I would have been surprised if he had done that, because the record of President Museveni over the last 40 years is there is no arbitrary arrest. There's a due process. We follow the law. At Pasaid, we follow the law. Where we've had incidents of things of insults leveled against us, lies, we do our best to stick within the law. We pick the evidence, we go to the relevant institution, because we truly believe in the constitutional rights and obligations of both government and citizen. Because I was a young boy in the Constituent Assembly, as a young reporter like you, but I was swallowing in everything every day for that 1 year. And I know that we made that constitution very deliberately to deal with the past issues we had had. So some of us fight hard to stay within the law, stay within the constitutional obligations. So I did not establish where he was, but at least we were very sure that this arrest had not been ordered by the president. Now, so I went to his family. I had a meeting with his mother, who is in advanced age, who has been unwell, with his wife, his son, his sisters and brothers, spent time with them, prayed with them, assured them that we will produce this officer in due course. So I just wanted the first thing to appeal to all the friends of Pasaid, particularly the friends of Mr. Bagonza, to know that we're working around the clock to have him out, find where he is, and make sure that he's safe and returns in a good mode. That's my priority now in the last 18 hours. And for those of you who know him, to keep him in prayer, keep his family in prayer. Because Matthew came to me as a young man in 2010. We had had riots based on Kayunga in 2009, I think. And then I had personally done investigation and found out that the rioters had come from various parts of the country. I knew that this was not anything to do with Kayunga. It had been unemployment pushing people to the streets. So I worked hard with a few allies, private and public, and we arranged a week-long training seminar in Makerere with 8,000 young people. Matthew was among them, leading the Bunyoro delegation. He's been with me since then, and we know him as competent, honest, independent-minded, because everybody who works with me tends to be independent-minded. They know that there are do's and don'ts, how you speak, how you approach people, how you respect the integrity and dignity of those you meet. So I don't know anything really as a charge to get him into trouble. But we will find out. So this morning I established that he will be brought to court soon. So we've told our lawyers for Paseid, they were here this morning, to prepare for whatever the charges will be, and to try and locate which court, which police station he might be brought to. And so we wanted to brief the country that we keep working to make sure that one of our own is released and presented to his family safe and sound. That's my priority and the priority of the staff of Paseid. The second issue to speak to you about is, in the same vein, we saw social media communications that say Paseid is an illegal organization. It should not deal with MDAs, agencies of government. So we want to tell you that that's absolutely, I don't want to use a harsh word. It's not true. Paseid was commissioned on 16th of March 2022 with very specific mandate on open markets, because we brought these ideas. We are among many agencies, but we are kind of, without blowing our trumpet, we know what we do and we do it with all our heart. Because we don't do it for anybody, although we report to the president. We do it for God and our country. We put effort, we put emphasis, we put research, we put relationships. So that mandate allows us to deal with markets, to stop blind trade, markets regional, international, to help improve the standard and compliance levels of our food. Our food has had bad reputation on the market with chemicals, with all sorts of micro residue levels. We've worked very hard in the last 2 years. You must have seen Minister for Agriculture presenting the Food Safety and Agriculture Organization law. We'll have now a food safety IGG very soon. It's Paseid that brings these ideas to improve our country's production and productivity. We work on infrastructure, negotiate rates, even if you don't have rail, you don't have good water transport, but try and give exporters a landing position that makes them competitive, because we're a hinterland economy. And then provide low-cost export funding for those who secure orders. Those 4 across 13 products, we had a target of 6 billion starting. We've surpassed it. We began when the economy was $4.5 billion coming out of COVID-19. We are now at around 13 billion. And we have decided now to switch to what we call Paseid 2.0, which is deal with supply constraints. Build aggregation centers in 18 zones of the country, where you can guarantee that 50% of an order coming from anywhere in the world, you can supply it. You can have a cooling center, a drying center with some energy, with some certification, in places where we've not had this since we became independent. That's why you hear us in the countryside, on media, drumming this with radio stations, with LC5 chairmen, with cows, with ministers. So the president who appointed us, who gave us a mandate on 16th of March 2022 and renewed it by locating us in the president's office on 25th of May of the same year, is the only one who can say you are no longer in operation. I asked him yesterday, he said, I have not issued an order of that nature. Paseid, go and work, go do your work. Huh? And so I wanted to do that so that I assure the district chairman we've worked with on securing lands in those district councils where we can put aggregation centers to be firm, be confident, and know that we're working to assure the suppliers of food and food products who we've supported, one of our relative agencies supported with small export loans, to know that the work is going on. We began with 0 credit to support enterprises. Now the country can export out of our efforts close to $20 to $30 million per quarter worth of supply of products that come from more than 60 companies that we have supported in about 13 sectors. So that is important to assure the domestic economy, the transporters, the suppliers, local government, institutions of government. We are here and we are working and we are humble but very effective at what we do. The next assurance I want to give on this issue is our international partners. Yesterday, when these issues came out, right in this room, we were negotiating with our trade representative in Nigeria. Nigeria, we have had very low trade, $11, $14 million. So we put a target of about 100. For us to achieve that, we need to get Nigeria to accept Africa Common Market tariff rates for Ugandan products, because both of us signed in 2018. You don't do that unless you have boots on the ground who negotiate with the Secretariat of ACFTA in Abuja, who looks at certification and standards for Nigeria, who looks at immigration policies for Nigeria. This gentleman was here, we were signing with him. So we need to assure people like that, who we have in Serbia, in the Balkans, we have in the US, various states, we have in DRC, and in China, to assure them PASAID will not renege on its commitments. Its staff and allies and partners continue to pursue extending the boundaries of this market with them. The other category to assure is we also attract investment. We were in the early stages of securing funding for one of our industrial parks to produce beef, because there's a place where we have an abattoir that has not functioned, and we're trying to build an ecosystem that gets 9 products out of an animal. And we were now just going to enter a phase of MOUs and feasibility study with an international capital firm. And these things happened, so they kind of sidetrack us. They slow us down. It's the same on aggregation centers. We have some embassies we are working with to start feasibility studies in relevant parts of the country, when to start. Same on the cold chain for fruits and vegetables. So I'd like to use this opportunity for you to tell them PASAID is open, working, and will keep its commitments. If we don't do this, selling in another person's market and attracting investment requires cautious legal predictability. When people cannot predict, when people are not very certain that organizations or rules or laws will be followed, investment becomes difficult. Okay, first of all, I speak on behalf of PASAID as an institution. The advisory committee and its secretariat is really what I speak for. And there are some questions which should be answered by the people who have posted those pictures, which, in my opinion, should not be in our ambit. So I really don't know the circumstances under which the pictures were taken or posted, but for us as PASAID, we stick to the law. We stick to the decorum. We stick to the rejection of humiliation of anybody or undermining the human integrity and dignity of anybody arrested, because our law says that you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. And so I am not sure that as PASAID we know the circumstances of the picture. We stick to 2 important things: follow the law, 2, make sure that our personnel, our officer returns safe and sound, and that we can go to a court of law if there is any charge, and he defends himself, and if any charge has anything to do with his work at PASAID, this institution comes out forcefully because we're extremely transparent people. We don't hide what we do. We don't speak behind anybody's back. The services we deliver have not been delivered in 63 years of our independence, because to have a 360-degree approach to trade, which we know trade is war by other means, to think of market and think of standard and think of infrastructure and think of funding, you don't find those things in one ministry or one department. We are a halfway house between the public and private sector. And sometimes our success or our approach tends to rile other institutions or other people, but that's not for us. As we stick with the mandate given to us on 16th of March 2022. When you are absolutely innocent, when you walk light, you need to know who I am. I'm a child of a peasant. I would never have been to school if my parents had not become born-again Christians. They learned human dignity and integrity and unity, and rejected cultural constraints, tribes, stereotypes, and they raised us lightly. So what we do, we don't do it for human beings. We do it because we have another witness above human beings called God. We don't hide our faith. And so what is arrest? Any person is a candidate for arrest, whether it is false allegations or truth. What we want is follow the due court process. Both how you arrest, how you charge, how you try. That's how a country's democracy improves. I have no idea what that group is and who the person you are talking about is. Our focus when we wake up is which market are we opening? Because that's very important for us. And what constraints of exporters are we solving? And who supplies the market we open? He or she who supplies needs education, needs to understand omutindo standards. That's why you hear us teaching mindset change, why you hear us talking about governance and reforms, because we know that society grows by leaps and bounds. So I will disappoint you. I don't read those tweets. I don't read, I am not on the same group with them. Some people sometimes send them to me. When I reckon that it's a heap of rubbish, I don't need to answer. When it is life-threatening, like now one of our officers, that's what we are doing. We follow the law. When there is some grain of truth, we refer them to our lawyer. That's what we do. We keep our heads and our eyes focused where we are going. Three things. First, we had our own internal staff meeting to prepare our team because we know that some people read things and get scared. So we've had our own internal preparations, and we will continue to strengthen those preparations on safety and security of each of our staff members. If anybody has a criminal record that we don't know, we will follow the due process. There's a way you arrest someone. There's a way you investigate a case. We'll support our staff if it has something to do with PASAID. If not, we don't worry so much. Number two, what we do is not theory. We sign agreements. Those local governments that give us land go through the due process of local council sessions. They sit, they say, we have heard, you want to create a place where we can dry some products, we can chill some products, we can ship. We want it here. So we are prepared in a council resolution minute to give you this land. And then we bring our lawyers, our administrators. There's a due process. Now, people should not be scared by someone saying that has ended. No, there's a legal, even cultural process. You disengage in our country. You don't wake up and say, no, I've left because someone has written a message. So we emphasize the relationships we have should also be structured, should be put in writing. The third one is that we are regularly, daily in touch with the president, who we elected, who we saw in recently, who appointed us. And I have had a conversation with him. I will ask him to speak to this issue. So PASAID is not a private entity. It's not even a private entity. You don't wake up and say, staff, no more business now, go home. You have to pay their salaries. You have to pay the landlord. Yeah? So please ignore these things. Our work continues, even if there may be obstructions or perceptional problems. We take those as very good stepping stones for our own growth as leaders. You heard Matthew came as a boy. Now he was heading this institution. There are many people who came with him and they fell off. And I see some of them in social media. They fell off because they did wrong things. Matthew listens, took in our teaching, our ideology, supports the president's work. So we don't think that building institutions is a sprint. It's a marathon. You're bound to hit these bottlenecks, but you keep moving regardless. Yes. So what you're trying to do to me is get out of PASAID, speak about other areas. No, I spoke about the Constitution in my opening remarks. This Constitution was done meticulously, consultatively, young, old, social groups, so that we can have a new contract that the people of Uganda use to adjudicate difficult situations. So my advice is, let's stick to the Constitution, even as hard as it is. Our behavior needs to match what the law and the text says. And as leaders of institutions, or small or big, need to know that there is such a thing that binds us together, which if we violate blatantly, it hurts all of us. If there is indiscipline on the road, even the disciplined ones can't drive. They either stay home or they worry about accidents. The road becomes difficult. So it's the same way in public matters. Whether it is PASAID staff or any other person, including the ones who hold differing opinions one doesn't like, they deserve to be treated in equal manner, with equal dignity, because that creates a record for the next generation to not reverse the progress we have had in 40 years. So for me, let's stay within what we wrote down to do. Let's match our behavior with it. Whether we are police or any security agency, or whether we are an institution like PASAID, we work under the law, but we should also be mindful of our cultural bonds, because there are things one does and one doesn't do, even if they are not written, because they have been built in us over time. When you are going to marry, there is a due process. You go and you do kumanyagana. Bakwita kumanyagana mu Luganda? Before kwanjura. Kuchala, sorry. Then in kuchala, there is a bit of, we have to know each other. Then there is kwanjura. Then there is the wedding. If you jump those steps, we think, unomwana bamuzalawa. So those cultural, those things that have become part of our lives, plus the law we made, can guarantee the safety for every person and protect our property and deal with the wrong. Wrong should be dealt with, certainly. If there's corruption or injustice, it should be dealt with. But the manner in which we do it should give confidence to investors, confidence to young people, and respect of the dignity of a person.